and welcome to Katie's Insight, where I give my insight on all kinds of things. And right now, as you guys know, I've been really super focused on the stimulus, and we're gonna keep on that track. However, if you would like a little change of pace from that, guys, I decided to try something else today. I did a video all about Princess Diana and some hidden secrets that I'm exposing about her. And don't worry, it's all very much in respect to her. I love Diana. Oh, I just love her so much. So if you guys are interested, or if you'd really like to help me out, make sure and go click on that video. I'll have links up here and in the description. It's the one from earlier. I'd really like to hear you guys' feedback and see what you think, because I'm thinking about maybe switching some things up, doing some stimulus and then some other things as well. But I really value your guys' feedback and would love to know what you think. So if you don't mind, give it a watch, give it a like, tell me what you think, and I can know where to go from there. So, okay, let's talk about stimulus though, because I know that's what you guys are here for right now. So yesterday we had Biden definitely step up, and now he is asking, almost begging Congress to get something done, and then talking a little bit about what his plans are for stimulus. This is very exciting, guys, and I'm going to go into detail and kind of break down what this means and what's going to happen from it. And this was a very long situation, so I'm going to do this in a couple parts. I just right now want to focus on his speech and not necessarily the questions, so we can see exactly what's going on and where we are going with all of this. But guys, this is good news. We now have Trump saying they're about to do a deal, and we have Biden really pushing for a deal. And on top of that, if you guys have been watching my videos, you know we have Nance Pelo, Lion Nance, which, don't worry, I know the press conference. I haven't had time yet. We're going to dive into it, believe me. But when it comes to Nance, I do want to do a video and kind of dissect. She kind of admits to everything I've been saying over the last several months. I don't know, guys, I do have a little bit of a talent for reading people when it comes to this kind of stuff. That's also why I wanted to do something on Princess Diana and kind of do other figures. I love, breaking things down, getting rid of all the pomp, the frills, the fluff, the buzzwords, the buzz phrases, the assumptions, and getting to the meat and bones and really explaining what's going on without the confusion. That's something that I think maybe I'm kind of good at. Not all the time, but I think a lot of times, and at least hopefully I gave you guys information and it's entertaining. So with all that being said, I have the speech pulled up. I want to go ahead, guys. I want you guys to hear exactly what he said, because you all know how I operate. I like to play the clip because I know how the media loves to take everything out of context. And granted, the media is very biased and left-leaning. Even the right conservative media seem to be that way. And they typically aren't going to be attacking Biden. Biden is their golden boy. However, I still like to make sure, even for myself, to keep myself in check, I don't take things out of context, which is why I like to get the transcript, versus I like to also show you guys the clips so you can see it in its entirety and not just read a headline and we all go with the assumptions that Orange Man bad. Not that I'm pro or anti-Trump, I'm just saying I'm pro common sense. I've watched the media do what they do to Trump. I don't trust it. So anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead, let's hear what Biden has to say, and then you know how it is. We're gonna break this down and tell you what this means for you guys. Let's take a look.
Good afternoon, folks. Thanks for being here. Early today, the November jobs report was released, and it was grim. It shows an economy that's stalling, and we remain in the midst of one of the worst economic and job crises in modern history. But it doesn't have to stay that way. If we act now, we can begin to regain momentum and start to build back a better future. There's no time to lose. Millions of people have lost their jobs or had their hours slashed. They've lost their health insurance or are in danger of losing their health insurance. 1 in every 6 renters is behind in rent. 1 in 4 small businesses can't keep their doors open. And there's a growing gap in Black and Latino unemployment, and the gap remains much too large. And it's deeply troubling that last month's drop in overall unemployment was driven by people who were dropping out of the job market, not because more people were being hired, dropping out of the job market altogether. They've lost hope of finding a job, or they're taking full-time caregiving responsibilities as child centers remain closed and their children learn remotely. Over the past 3 months, 2.3 million more people are long-term unemployed, meaning for 23 weeks or more. By far the largest increase on record. This is a dire jobs report. It's a snapshot, I might remind you, up to mid-November. before the surge in COVID cases we predicted, many predicted, and the deaths rise that we've seen in December as we head into a very dark winter ahead. For example, since October, cities are down 21,000 educators, just as schools need more help in fighting against the pandemic. A couple of days ago, I spoke with a school crossing guard, a server, a restaurant owner, and a stagehand. Good people, honorable people, decent, hard-working Americans from across the country. It reminded me of my dad, who lost his job in Scranton and eventually moved our family to Delaware, just outside of Wilmington, a place called Claymont. He used to say, you've heard me say it before, Joey, I don't expect the government to solve my problems, but I expect them at least to understand my problems. The folks I'm talking about, the folks out there aren't looking for a handout. They just need help. They're in trouble through no fault of their own. Nothing they did caused them to have hours cut or lose their job or drop out of the market. What they need us to understand. We're in a crisis. We need to come together as a nation. We need the Congress to act and act now. If Congress and President Trump fail to act by the end of December, 12 million Americans will lose their unemployment benefits they rely on. Merry Christmas. The unemployment benefits allowing them to keep food on the table, to keep the lights on and the heat on, pay their bills. Emergency paid leave will end. The moratorium on evictions will expire. States will lose the vital tools they need to pay for COVID testing and public health. Put yourselves in that position, anybody listening. Laying awake at night wondering what's going to happen tomorrow. It's going to be harder for states to keep children and educators safe in schools, to try to provide assistance to keep small businesses alive. States and cities are already facing large budget shortfalls this year, again through no fault of their own. They've already laid off more than 1 million workers. Even more teachers, firefighters, cops will lose their jobs unless federal government steps up now. And all of this weakens our ability to control the virus if we don't step up now. Emergency paid leave reduces the spread of COVID because it allows people to stay home when they're sick. States and cities need funding to direct their COVID response, which is the only way we're going to end the economic crisis as well. Only way we're going to get people back to work. I'm not alone in saying this situation is urgent. If we don't act now, the future will be very bleak. Americans need help, and they need it now. And they need more to come early next year. But I must tell you, I am encouraged by the bipartisan efforts in the Senate around $900 billion package for relief. It's a bipartisan effort. Congress, as they work out the details of this relief package, they're going to have to focus on resources for direct public health responses to COVID-19. We need meaningful funding for vaccines now, so they don't lose time and leave people waiting for additional months. We need serious funding for testing now. We need to ramp up testing, allow our schools and business to operate safely. The sooner we pass the funding, the sooner we can turn the corner on COVID-19. You know, in the week since this election ended, there were questions about whether Democrats and Republicans could work together. I know many of you are skeptical about my view that they will and can't. Right now, they're showing they can. Congress and President Trump have to get this deal done for the American people. But any package passed in the lame duck session is not going to be enough overall. It's critical, but it's just a start. Congress is going to need to act again in January. Earlier today, I consulted with a number of my economic team, most of which have been announced by now. And Vice President Harris and I announced that team last week. As we inherit the public health and economic crisis, we're working on a plan that we'll put forward for the next Congress to move fast to control the pandemic, to revive the economy, and to build back better than before. We hope to see the same kind of spirit of bipartisan cooperation as we're seeing today. Our plan is based on the input from a broad range of people who the Vice President-elect and I have been meeting with since winning this election last month. Labor leaders, the leading CEOs in the country, mayors and governors of both parties, parents, educators, workers, small business owners. There's a consensus that as we battle COVID-19, we have to make sure that businesses and workers have the tools, the resources, and the guidance and the health and safety standards to keep businesses and schools open safely. It can be done. Because here's the deal. The fight against COVID won't be won by in January alone. To truly end this crisis, Congress is going to need to fund more testing, as well as a more equitable and free distribution of the vaccine. We're going to need more economic relief to bridge through 2021 until this pandemic and economic crisis are over. And then we need to build back better. I've said it before, an independent analysis by Moody's, a well-respected Wall Street firm, projects that my Build Back Better plan would create 18.6 million good-paying jobs. It's based on a simple premise. Reward work in America, not wealth. We're going to invest in infrastructure, clean energy, and manufacturing, and so much more. We'll create millions of good-paying American jobs and get the job market back in the path to full employment. This will raise incomes, reduce drug prices, advance racial equity across the economy, and restore the backbone of this country, the middle class. Look, the bottom line, it's essential we provide immediate relief for working families and businesses now. Not just help them get on the other side of this painful crisis, but to avoid a much broader economic cost due to long-term unemployment and businesses failing. By acting now, even with deficit financing, we can add to growth in the near future. In fact, economic research shows that with conditions like the crisis today, especially with such low interest rates, not taking action, the action I'm proposing, will hurt the economy, scar the workforce, reduce growth, and add to the national debt. Look, I know times are tough. The challenges are daunting. But I know we can do this. We can create an economic recovery for all, for everybody. We can move from crisis to recovery and to resurgence. For Lord's sake, this is the United States of America. We've done it before, and we'll do it again. We will, I promise you. So I thank the bipartisan group that's trying to put something together right now. We're going to need more bipartisanship as we move on. God bless you guys and women who are doing this. God bless our country, and may God protect our troops. I'll stop there, and I'll be happy to take some questions.
Okay, guys, let's dive in because I want to go over a lot of what he is saying so we can see what that means for us. It says, good afternoon, folks. Thanks for being here. Earlier today, the November jobs report was released and it was grim. It showed an economy that's stalling, and we remained in the midst of one of the worst economic and job crises in modern history. But it doesn't have to stay that way. If we act now, I mean now, we can begin to regain momentum and start to build back a better future. There is no time to lose. Now, this is very, very important, guys, because the jobs numbers over the last couple weeks have started to slip. We know President Trump, he has been really touting that the economy is coming back strong. We hear Larry Kudlow all over the place, the V-shaped economy. We hear all this stuff, right? However, on the flip side of all this, we have stuff like this where we know things are coming. We've heard all the top economists across the country, and they have been saying if we don't get help soon, it's going to permanently damage the economy, and those numbers are going to start slipping. And that's exactly what's happened. I think this week the jobs reports was a little bit better than last week, but we only added like less than 250,000 jobs to the market, which is a far cry from where we were at. So it's very important that we get help soon. So he says, millions of people have lost their jobs and had their hours slashed. They've lost their health insurance and are in danger of losing their health insurance. 1 in every 6 renters is behind in rent. 1 in 4 small businesses can't keep their doors open, and there's a growing gap in Black and Latino unemployment, and the gap remains much too large. Let's go into that as well. This is a little, seeing this and hearing this is a little frustrating to me, and I want to explain why. When it talks about the healthcare coverage, well, they're saying people are losing it or having it, the possibility of losing it. I think they're not accounting for the fact that most of us hadn't had health insurance for so long. How long has it been? Like, sound off in the comments if you feel brave enough. How long has it been since y'all been to the dentist? Let me tell you, I'm going to be honest. I've only been to a dentist once since I was on my parents' healthcare coverage, and that was when I was 20, and I just got my braces off. I've been once since then. Who can afford it? Most people, and here's the thing, even if you're working really good jobs, most people just can't afford it. At this point, going to something like a dentist is more of a luxury. We save those premiums. We save that money when something really big happens, if you even have the insurance to save it. So it just kind of bothers me because it's like most of us don't have insurance. Welcome to America. We going through a pandemic and most of us don't have insurance to even get the help we need. That's why as well, guys, does it bother you? Like, do y'all remember when Madonna did a video and she's like, the virus is, and she was all dramatic, the virus is the great equalizer, it doesn't care where you're from or how rich you are, or who you know. And I'm like, actually it kind of does. Depending on where you're at and how much money you have could save your life. For instance, why did President Trump get better so quickly? Now, it's not to say, I'm not talking about whether or not his immune system is or isn't good, but he had nothing but nonstop help around him. Guess what? Almost none of us have that. We have to actually go into the hospitals and say, can we afford the test? So it really does matter. And I hope to goodness, out of all of this stuff going on, that one of the good things, in my opinion, that we can take away from all of this is that, like, one of the lights that 2020 is showing on us is that we have to put a focus on health in this country. I think all over the world in general, but also specifically United States, we always think we're number one and we're the greatest, and yet we're all sick. And even if not with the pandemic, we all have different chronic issues we're dealing with, and we need to stop and ask why. Do we all really need to just put on a brave face and feel miserable all the time, or is something not working in society? So, also when he says over 1 in 4 businesses can't keep their doors open, well, is that of the businesses that have, like, is that now the businesses now? Or are you referring to also the businesses that have already closed? Because at this point, most of the small businesses are gone. And it's really sad because nobody cared to help the PPP. It says, and it's deeply troubling that last month's drop in overall unemployment was driven by people who were dropping out of the job market. Not because most people were being hired, dropping out of the market altogether. They've lost hope on finding a job, or they've taken full-time caregiving responsibility as child centers remain closed and their children learn remotely. And I've been saying this for a while. What are we doing here with unemployment, and what are we doing with stimulus with the parents that have to stay home because their children have to learn remotely? And how's that work? What if you're a one-parent household? How on earth does that work? Does that mean that you get to have your kids taken away from you and they go into state care where the states have no money to run anyways because you can't take care of them because they have to be at home and you have to be at home? Like, this situation's just getting crazy. Over the past 3 months, 2.3 million more people are long-term unemployed, meaning for 23 weeks or more. By far the largest increase on record. This is a dire jobs report. It's a snapshot. I might remind you, up to mid-November, before the surge in the virus cases, many predicted, and the deaths rise that we've seen in December as we head into a very dark winter ahead. For example, since October, cities are down 21,000 educators, just as schools need more help in fighting against the pandemic. A couple of days ago, I spoke with school crossing guard, a server, a restaurant owner, and a stagehand. Good people, honorable people, decent, hardworking Americans from across the country. It reminded me of my dad. Now, I do want to get into this because this is very, very frustrating. And I agree. I think a lot of people are losing hope. But here's the thing. I think we've already lost hope. I don't necessarily think people are dropping out of the job market because they're like, oh, well, I give up. I think it's by force because there's not enough jobs to be able to do in a healthy manner or at all. And look, I get the comments and I hear people saying there's jobs out there if you go get them. I understand that, but here's what we have to understand. I'm somebody that's really good at finding work. I'm really good at finding jobs because I'm really personable. And not to brag, guys, look, I am horrible at most things, okay? Don't get me in front of math. Don't ask me to decorate a room. I'm gonna throw glittering Care Bears around and call it done. I don't know what I'm doing, okay? But there are some things I'm good at. I'm really good at interviewing. I'm really good at communication. Not everybody is. And the thing is that, and yes, you can always better your skills, you can always learn, you can always continue to learn, but I hear people say that, they get mad in the comments, they're like, well, you just have to go out there and apply yourself. I get that, but for some people, it's not the same. Everybody has advantages and disadvantages in life. Everybody has their different strengths and their different weaknesses. And for some people as well, you have to remember, some people have chronic illness issues. They can't just go take any job that will put them in harm's way because it could really, really harm them. So this is a more intricate scenario. And I don't know, it's hard because it's like, I appreciate that he's giving us the reality of what is, but at the same time, I wish there'd be a little more optimism in what he's saying. Like, I think Trump sometimes was so optimistic, he didn't give us the reality, but now here, I'm hoping we don't get too much negativity, because when we start getting bombarded with negativity is when I'm going to kind of raise one eyebrow and go, oh, what are y'all selling next? Again, just marketing and sales stuff that I know, and calling it the dark winter. Look up the stuff behind the dark winter, guys, because it gets really weird. So he says, it reminds me of my dad who he says, across the country. It reminds me of my dad who lost his job in Scranton, Pennsylvania, The Office. Anytime I hear Scranton, that's what I'm going to think of. And then I'm going to hear da-na. I'm going to hear that theme song. I bet literally me just doing those two notes, my video is going to get some type of music copyright claim. Because YouTube is weird. Anyway, it says, and eventually moved our family to Delaware, just outside of Wilmington, a place called Claymont. He used to say, you've heard me say it before, Joey, I don't expect the government to solve my problems, but I expect them at least to understand my problems. The folks I'm talking about, the folks out there that aren't looking for a handout, they just need help. They are in trouble through no fault of their own. Nothing they did to cause them to have their hours cut or lose their jobs or drop out of the job market. What they need us to understand, we're in a crisis. We need to come together as a nation. We need the Congress to act, and act now. Well, I agree with all of that. I think we can all agree with that to an extent. I do think we should have more programs for the government to help people, but at the same time, the government has put programs in place to keep people down. So I feel like they don't necessarily really want to help people and uplift people. Look at the way they've run California into nothing and a ball of fire. Taxes are so high. Like, everything is so ridiculous out there. You can't really get a job without certain qualifications and certifications. But to get those, you have to jump through all these state hoops, and you can't get them. Like, it's insane. It's insane. So it's, again, just frustrating. If Congress and President Trump fail to act by the end of December, I like that he throws President Trump in there, because at this point, Trump has tried everything, and he has little to pull in this. It really depends on Mitch McConnell and Pelosi, because Trump has said, I'm willing to sign something that helps the American people, let's go. He even went as far as to put executive orders out there that everybody said he couldn't. So hearing this, a little bit frustrating on my end to hear some of this, because it's like, I can tell this is a slight dig. Now, this is a different dig than President Trump. President Trump will tell you right to your face, that was a stupid question. I see what you're doing. You're being manipulative. Biden, you got to remember, these people are going to be more subtle with their jabs, right? They're going to be more, except Pelosi. Pelosi's just going to, she'll try to jab, but then she starts to like malfunction and melt down. And then Mitch McConnell's just an evil old turd. And Mitch McConnell will be manipulative, but a lot of times when it comes to him wanting to insult somebody, he's just going to do it. That's why on some level, I'll respect the Republicans a little more, only in that they are less manipulative. It's less energy to have to figure out what they're doing. We know they're just evil and don't want to help people. Or they want to more help themselves than anybody else, and then say, shame on you guys for wanting help. I think it's funny that they want to make sure there's liability protections for businesses to protect the businesses, protect the business. It's to protect their special interests. Come on. It's to protect y'all's businesses. That's really what this is. If you guys aren't going to, if we're not going to have mandates that really help from the government give PPE to everybody, then how can you expect anybody to, how can you expect these liability protections to really be something you can enforce? Like, it's stupid. So he says, if Congress and President Trump fail to act by the end of December, 12 million Americans will lose their unemployment benefits they rely on. And guys, remember, extended benefits and PUA are almost run out. And so many people are running solely on those for unemployment. It's, we talked about the stimulus, that $600 a week stimulus going away. Was it going to be an economic cliff, which it's already showing signs? This is going to be an absolute cataclysmic disaster. So the unemployment they rely on to keep food on the table, keep the lights on and keep the heat on, pay the bills, emergency paid leave will end. Moratoriums on evictions will expire. States will lose their vital tools they need to pay for virus testing and public health. Put yourself in that position. Anybody listening, laying awake at night, wondering what's going to happen tomorrow. It's going to be harder for states to keep children and educators safe in schools, to try to provide assistance to keep small businesses alive. States and cities are already facing large budget shortfalls this year. Again, through no fault of their own. They've already laid off more than 1 million workers, even more teachers. He didn't say that, but that's a nod to Pelosi. Firefighters, cops will lose thear jobs unless federal government steps up the shutdown. All of this weakens our ability to control the virus if we don't step up. Well, you can't control anything. How are you going to tell people to stay in their homes if we don't have anybody to enforce it, you know? What's going to what's going to stop people? Like, I hate to say this, but what's going to stop people from doing like the purge if there's no police officers or firefighters? Getting weird, guys. You know, I'm going to say this lightly. It almost, it would be the perfect scenario for some country that maybe we're in disagreement with to create a situation, that looks like an illness for our country that completely desecrates it. I'm not saying it has or hasn't happened. I'm saying I've entertained the thought a time or two because of how weird things are. Emergency paid leave reduces the spread of the virus because it allows people to stay at home when they're sick. States and cities need funding to direct their virus response, which is the only way we're going to end the economic crisis as well. The only way we're going to get people back to work. I'm not alone in saying this situation is urgent. If we don't act now, the future will be bleak. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. Americans need help, and they need it now, and they need more to come early next year. But I must tell you, I am encouraged by the bipartisan efforts in the Senate around $900 billion package for relief. It's a bipartisan effort. When Congress, as they work out the details of this relief package, they're going to have to focus on resources for direct public health responses to the virus. We need meaningful funding for vaccines now. So don't lose time and leave people waiting for additional months. We need serious funding for testing now. We need to ramp up testing to allow our schools and businesses to operate safely. Something else I kind of want to throw out there. This is just a random thought I've been having. Certain countries, maybe in Asia, didn't do the same thing we're doing with lockdowns, and it seems like they've overcome everything. Certain countries haven't locked down at all, and they're doing okay. All I'm doing is questioning, I wonder why. I wonder what they're doing differently. I'm just questioning. That's it. I ask questions because I find things to be interesting. The sooner we pass the funding, the sooner we can turn the corner on the virus in the week since the election ended. There were questions about whether Democrats and Republicans could work together. I know many of you are skeptical about my view that they will and they can. Right now, they were showing that they can. Congress and President Trump have to get this deal done for the American people. But any package passed in the lame duck session is not going to be enough overall. It's critical, but it's just a start. Congress are going to need to act again in January. Earlier today, I consulted with a number at my economic team, most of which have been announced by now, and Vice President Harris and I announced the team last week. And by the way, it's driving me nuts when I see these, I'm seeing these interviews where we have Harris and she's like, I love Joe Biden. I respect him. He cares about people. When just like a year ago, she was calling him out on being the R word and his R word policies. But then again, as long as you say you're left and the media's behind you, you can be the biggest R word you want. It's totally okay. Like, that's how it works, guys. But the orange man is always bad because no common sense. None. You don't have to be a Trump supporter or Trump hater to see there's no common sense in this. Why is it okay for Biden but not for somebody else? And so watching Harris do this, I'm like, she's just fake. But again, they're all fake. They're all phony. But they're all pumped up for themselves because some rich people in the background who are horrible people have given them titles to pump up their egos and make them feel like they're somebody. It's always how it works. So it says, as we inherit the public health and economic crisis, we're working on a plan that we'll put forward in the next Congress to move fast to control the pandemic, to revive the economy, and to build back better than before. We hope to see the same kind of spirit in the bipartisanship and cooperation as we're seeing today. Our plan is based on the input from a broad range of people, and the Vice President-elect and I have been meeting with since winning the election last month. Labor leaders, the leading CEOs of the country, mayors and governors of both parties, parents, educators, workers, small business owners. There's a consensus that as we battle the virus, we have to make sure the businesses and workers have the tools, the resources, and the guidance, and the health and the safety standards to keep businesses and schools open safely. It can be done because here's the deal. The fight against the virus won't be won in January alone. To truly end this crisis, Congress is going to need to fund more testing, and we need more equitable and free distribution of the vaccine. We need more economic relief to bridge through 2021 until this pandemic and economic crisis are over. Yes, I think we can all agree. Yes, we need something to bridge us now, which is why we hear Biden has been pushing and saying to Pelosi, back down from the big bill and do something now, which is why she's finally backing the smaller bill, which just goes to show what a manipulative piece of trash she is. Oh, she makes me mad. And then we need to build back better. I've said it before, an independent analysis by Moody's, a well-respected Wall Street firm, projects that my bill bag better plan would create 18.6 million good-paying jobs. It's based on the simple premise: reward work in America, not wealth. Funny, Orange Man is so bad, but let's just be really honest. So much of what Trump has said, now they've started taking their playbook. First, when Trump would say it, like let's incentivize, companies to come back to America. Oh, well, he's just the R word and he's blankophobia. And now they're doing the same thing. That's it. It's just funny to me. He says we're going to invest in infrastructure, clean energy and manufacturing, and so much more. We'll create millions of good-paying jobs and get the job market back on the path to full employment. This will raise income, reduce drug prices, advance minority equity across the country, and restore the backbone of this country, the middle class. Look, the bottom line is essential. We provide immediate relief for working families and businesses now, not just to help them get to the other side of this painful crisis, but to avoid a broader economic cost due to long-term unemployment and business failing. By acting now, even with deficit financing, we can add to growth in the near future. In fact, economic research shows that with conditions like the crisis today, especially with such low interest rates, not taking action, the action I'm proposing will hurt the economy, scar the workforce, reduce growth, and add to the national debt. Look, I know times are tough, the challenges are daunting, but I know we can do this. We can create an economy recovery for all, for everybody. We can move from this crisis to recovery and resurgence. For the Lord's sake, this is the United States of America. We've done it before. We can do it again. We will, I promise you. So I thank the bipartisan group that is trying to put something together right now. We're going to need more bipartisanship as we move on. God bless you. God bless the women who are doing this. God bless our country. And may God protect our troops. I'll stop there and happen to take questions. So I'm not going to go in the questions right now. But again, I just hear so much of the same rhetoric Trump has been demonized for, and now they're going, oh, I'm great. This is, again, it's not about pro-Trump or anti-Trump. These are the reasons why people end up going to Trump. This is the reason why you're going to have these people who end up going and supporting somebody like Trump. We see the hypocrisy. We'd rather have a blatant guy who kind of acts like a you-know-what sometimes, but we know where we stand and he's not playing games as much as possible, versus all of this crap. Is it just me, y'all? I'm tired. I'm so tired of these people being so arrogant and think we're so stupid they can feed us these narratives and we're just going to jump right in. It makes me so mad. For instance, remember with Obama, yes, we can. And they just sold this fairy tale of the dream that we had this minority in the office. And look, more power to everybody. Let's get more minorities in those places. I'm all for it. However, they sold us a pipe dream because then Obama didn't really do much to help us. He really didn't. And so it's very, very frustrating to see a lot of this and to see we're just being fed the same stuff. The good news is about stimulus. Sorry, I'm getting so irritated over this stuff lately. I mean, I think we've all been irritated. I think we're all kind of done with this. We're all fed up. But the good news is he's pushing stimulus and he's gotten Pelosi to back down from her manipulative stance on not helping us to now helping us to try to make him look good as he's coming in. At this point, I think Pelosi's going to jump on whatever Biden wants to do because it's going to be whatever we can do to have the American people on our side. That way, no matter what happens, hopefully we can still get you in office because they're not really secure in their position there. Guys, a lot of what I've been saying about these people, I've been calling it and I've been right. And I'm not saying that to toot my own horn or whatever, but I'm saying it for a reason. These people are manipulative. They don't care about us and we have to be careful. But at the same time, we're desperate. We're going to take what we can get. And at this point, any sign of help is good. But are we getting signs of help based off of the elections that possibly are no longer free? And if that's the case, we've lost every thread of democracy we've ever had. And that's very sad to me. And it's very, very concerning. And I think it should be for everybody. But at least he's saying, and he's asking Congress, he is telling them, come together and do something. Now, Pelosi's on board. Mitch so far isn't. Mitch has his own plan. We'll see how it goes. Mitch's plans never go anywhere, and they're always laughed out. But we'll have to see. This week, this weekend, this next week are going to get very interesting. I'm going to keep covering this for you guys. Okay, guys, if you like this video, please help me out and give me a big thumbs up and like this video. Subscribe. Hit notifications so y'all can be notified what's coming in the pipeline for you and your stimulus money. Sound off in the comments. I want to hear everything y'all have to say, and please share this content with as many people you know are struggling right now. People who are on unemployment, waiting for unemployment, stimulus checks, SB lending issues, and everything in between. I've got tons of tools and tons of resources to help you during this very difficult time, and I would love nothing more than to help as many people as possible. If you need additional help, go to my Facebook page, Katie's Insight. Like the page, join the group, Katie's Corner. Will be changed to Katie's Insight soon. Go in there. We're helping people on a more one-on-one stimulus need basis. So if you need stimulus in your direct area, have stimulus questions, we're all trying to help you. It's free. Nobody's trying to sell you anything. We just want to help people. On that note, I don't say this much and I don't really want to entertain this much, but I'm just letting you guys know we've had some fun, I'll put it, with some people who want to come into the group and just complain. And they want to complain about me and the way I do things and up one side and down the other. So here's what I want to tell you guys. This group is free. The group is there to help people. It is not there to be disrespectful to me or other people, to criticize me or other people, to put me down, to start political fights. If you don't like what I do, I totally understand. There are so many wonderful stimulus channels out there with great hosts, people, and content creators. I can rattle off a few. I've already have LA Late's wonderful, Meet Kevin's wonderful, Clear Value Tax. They're great if that's your kind of people. Everybody has a different flavor, a different angle, and is giving you information in a different way. That can be helpful, or just different information altogether. So, but I'm telling you, this is something that we're doing for free to help people. So please make sure and just be respectful of the fact that people are helping you, or they're trying to. It's not a group to sit there and express your opinion on whatever. There's so many other places for that. We just want to help people. So that's just what I wanted to say, and I'll probably just try to leave it at that. Not to get too negative, guys. I think maybe I'm slightly cranky today. Forgive me. It's just we're bombarded with all this stuff, and I think we're all kind of in a little bit of stimulus burnout right now because it's so frustrating, and I get it. I'm there with you guys. So forgive me. I hope I'm not coming across too negative. I'm just being real with y'all and letting you guys know where I'm at. Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end this video. You guys know how it is. I'm so grateful. I'm so appreciative for every single one of you. Thank you so much for allowing me to do what I do, come into your hearts, your homes, your heads every day and give you information. And I appreciate it so much. And last thing, if you guys would like to support me, please go check out the Princess Diana video. And I'm serious. Tell me your feedback. I would like to know what you guys think and how you feel, because I take that very seriously into consideration. And if you guys are kind of where I'm at and you would like to maybe see some other different content from me, I would love to do a mix of everything, of stimulus, of trying to help find money, and maybe some other good pieces too, that could be entertaining or kind of give some other perspective. So let me know what you guys think, because I value y'all so much. Okay, guys, take care. Blessings to the next video. Hugs, mwah, and kisses. I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.